The Explainer, everyone. Today, we are diving straight into the roaring atmosphere of Seattle Stadium to break down an absolute blockbuster. We're talking about the high-stakes 2026 World Cup Group E clash between the United States and Australia. This match, it literally shifted the entire dynamic of the group. We've got tactical surprises, breakout performances, and some serious resilience to unpack. So let's jump right into the data and the history on the pitch to see exactly how it all went down. Now, heading into this matchup, there was really only one question dominating the headlines. How does a team completely dominate a World Cup match without their biggest star? The U.S. men's national team managed to secure a commanding 2-0 victory over a super gritty Australian side. But the crazy part is they did it missing their talent, Christian Pulisic. He took a knock to his calf against Paraguay, so he was stuck on the bench. Usually, for a team with real title ambitions, losing your top playmaker is a total recipe for disaster. So, how exactly did the U.S. not just survive, but actively dictate the entire tempo? Well, it all starts with our first section, missing stars and lineup shocks. There was just an incredible contrast in how both of these teams arrived at their starting 11s. For the USA, their hand was basically forced. Coach Mauricio Pochettino made the smart call not to risk Pulisic long-term health, so he slotted Ricardo Pepi into the lineup instead. But for Australia, the absence of their stars was entirely by choice. Coach Tony Popovic made a massively controversial tactical decision. He actually benched Nestor Irankuna and Connor Metcalf. And get this, those are the exact two players who scored the winning goals in Australia's opening victory against Turkey. Instead, he brought in Matthew Leckie and Nishan Valublai. The goal was clearly to use a more physical, disciplined approach to weather the American storm. Unsurprisingly, that decision definitely ruffled some feathers. Former World Cup star and pundit Kevin Prince Boateng actually called out the move live on the broadcast. He said, and I quote, "You take out your biggest threat? I think that's showing again I want to play defensive against a team that is the same level." Boateng's point was spot on. By removing your most explosive attacking threats against a similarly matched team, you're basically handing over the psychological and tactical advantage before the referee even blows the whistle. Which leads us directly into Section 2, a dominant American first half. The U.S. definitely did not sit back and wait. They pressed high and completely overwhelmed the Socceroos right out of the gate. Just 11 minutes in, that relentless American pressure forced a massive error, leading to a Cameron Burgess' own goal. Australia looked just sluggish, heavy-legged really, struggling to handle the sheer speed of the U.S. attack. And then, right before halftime at the 43rd minute mark, Alex Freeman doubles the lead with an absolute beauty of a header off a deflected shot. So, in just 45 minutes, the Americans effectively killed the game. 2-0 at the break, a lead they'd comfortably ride straight to the finish line. But let's circle back to that main question, right? Without Pulisic out there pulling the strings, who actually stepped up to drive this relentless first-half attack? Let's take a look at the real protagonists. The real game changer was the tactical shift of Florent Balogun. With Pulisic out, Pochettino moved Balogun into a central striker role. And wow, he was just an absolute menace to the Australian defense. It was his electric surge into the box and a super dangerous low cross from the left side that panicked Cameron Burgess into putting the ball into his own net for that opening goal. Balogun proved he isn't just a guy who waits for perfect service. He can create pure chaos and manufacture goals through sheer effort and pace. I actually absolutely love what Balogun had to say after the match. He told reporters, "If I can force an error that gives us the lead, then for me it's like a goal as well." That right there, that perfectly captures the team-first mentality Pochettino has built within this squad. Balogun, who actually scored twice in the opener against Paraguay, didn't care at all that this one didn't go on his personal stat sheet. His performance rightfully earned him a Yellow Bolster Player of the Match honors, showing us that stepping up isn't always about getting the glory yourself. It's about making the whole attacking unit dangerous. And then we have to talk about this number, 21. That's the age of Alex Freeman, the breakout U.S. right back who headed in that crucial second goal. Guys, he is literally the youngest player on the entire U.S. roster. Freeman, whose dad is actually former Super Bowl champ Antonio Freeman, fun fact, showed some serious vertical leap to beat the keeper for that header. Think about it, just months ago he was fighting tooth and nail just to make the squad. Now he's a goal scorer on the world's biggest stage. It's a perfect example of just how incredibly deep this United States team is right now. All right, moving on to Section 3, Patrick Beach's goalkeeping masterclass. Check this out, 9.4. That is a massive score rating. I mean, firmly in elite territory. And the crazy thing, it belonged to Australia's goalkeeper, Patrick Beach, who was playing in his very first World Cup match. Now, looking at a 2-0 loss, you might assume the defense just totally crumbled. But honestly, without Beach in net, this game could have easily been a 4 or 5 goal blowout for the Americans. The guy was literally under siege, but he stayed unbelievably composed. We're talking 8 total saves, including 3 ridiculously difficult ones right inside the penalty box. The analytics tell the story here. He prevented 1.54 expected goals, plus he was super active off his line with 12 ball recoveries and exactly 0 errors leading to shots. The Melbourne City keeper basically single-handedly managed the damage control, and in a tournament where goal differential means absolutely everything, Beach's heroics are probably the only reason Australia still has a fighting chance to advance. Which brings us to the aftermath in Section 4, Group D standings and fallout. So, here's where the dust finally settles. Sitting on 6 points from 2 games, the USA has officially mathematically clinched their spot in the knockout stage, the round of 32. And here's a wild historical fact for you. This is actually the first time the US has won back-to-back World Cup games since the very first tournament way back in 1930. Incredible, right? They're sitting pretty at the top with a +5 goal differential. Meanwhile, Australia is in second place with 3 points and a neutral goal differential, again, thanks in large part to Patrick Beach keeping that margin at just 2 goals. So, what does this all mean for the final match day? Well, the U.S. heads down to Los Angeles to face Turkey. You can bet they'll use this chance to rest some key players, giving Pulisic some extra time to heal up for sure, while still trying to lock down the outright group win. For Australia, though, the mission is crystal clear. They absolutely must get a positive result against Paraguay. Their tournament survival literally depends entirely on bouncing back from this American defeat. To kind of wrap up the American side of the story, Mauricio Pochettino dropped this perfect quote after the game. He said, "It was impossible for Christian to play, but if we want to win the competition, we need the whole team." And he hit the nail on the head. You just can't win a World Cup relying on one guy. You need the Balagoons to shift positions, you need the 21-year-old Freeman stepping up to score headers, and you need a rock-solid defensive unit to secure a clean sheet. They proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that their squad depth is the real deal. Which leaves us with this final thought. The U.S. has officially put the world on notice. They are cohesive, they are deep, and they are incredibly dangerous, even without their captain. On the flip side, Australia is backed into a corner, relying entirely on the resilience we saw from them late in the game. As we head into match day 3, with the U.S. hitting their stride and Australia fighting for pure survival, how will the final chapter of Group D actually play out? We'll be keeping a close eye on it for our next explainer as the knockout stages take shape. Thanks so much for learning with us today.